All right. welcome to Moorish Heritage and History School. We will be beginning the class momentarily, so if you just hang on a minute. We will start the class by reading chapter 25 of the Holy Quran. All right. Whew. All right, everybody. We're going to just jump right into the class. All right, we begin each class by reading chapter 25 of the Holy Quran. If you are in agreement with it, affirm by saying Islam after I finish reading it. All right. 5. Got you. All right. All right. I should know this by heart, but I don't. I read it every week, but I don't. 25. Oh, wow, I'm way off. Here we go. 25. Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother have given you suck. That the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers and sisters, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him out. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole nation, and his care be continued to you all, and your love to each other. All right, Islam. Whew. How many people heard last night's broadcast? 9:30. How many people know we have a broadcast? I ask the same question every week. We have a broadcast on Tuesday. It is Principles of Nationality in Action, and that is the forum where you can ask questions. You can ask questions here, but our listening audience, they at this time can't. So we have Tuesday, Principles of Nationality in Action, and then we have today, which is the Moorish Heritage and History School. And this is the classroom setting. How many people here, because I'm always talking about the American Constitution because it's so imperative that we all get it, really. How many people have studied the Constitution here? You guys ever? Somewhat? No, not ever? How about you? Absorb it? The Constitution is an amazing, amazing piece of work. And I think that many of us, we have issues in our life because we don't really comprehend the magnitude of how that document assists us in our day-to-day life. Many of us, I know people who think that that document was written by modern Europeans for modern Europeans. I've never had any type of, any concern or anything regarding it because I didn't really think of it as I was growing up. When I was in middle school, believe it or not, elementary. Actually, when I was in elementary school, you couldn't pass to middle school unless you knew the preamble. So that's how I know the American Constitution. But I think that most of the people today, they're having challenges because the majority of people don't really understand what that document is, doesn't understand what it does. It's not that it gave anybody anything, but it absolutely does protect your unalienable liberty. And so one of the things that I have realized is that once again, the majority of people, they don't even know what liberty means, much less that their liberties have been arrested. And most people don't know what the arresting of liberties means. So if you don't know something, then the chances of you fighting to maintain or making sure that those liberties are secure is probably very slim, which is what we have going on today. People, they don't know about those, the protections of those liberties, so they don't have a problem with the lack of enforcement of it. So today, you have people who don't even have the basic necessities of life, which the Constitution secures under liberty. Under the definition of liberty, they don't even have the basic necessities of life, and they think it's okay because they don't recognize that they're supposed to have it, and the fact that they don't have it means that they need to demand it. No, so nobody demands it. I've listened to people in all areas of life. Usually those people, unfortunately, are modern Europeans because they know about the American Constitution and they know that it's supposed to be providing, liberties to them. So when they don't have those liberties, they make sure and go after them and get them. Our people, because they don't know what that American Constitution brings. They don't even know that they're supposed to be demanding it. And so our liberties are arrested and violated on a daily basis. Something as basic as our right to travel, which most people, they comprehend. Those are arrested. They're not violated. They're arrested. There's a big difference. They're arrested to the point where you're not receiving them. You're not receiving them at all. Now, when we talk about liberties from the constitutional perspective, actually when we talk about the liberties from the perspective of the definition, what we find is, well, let me just read a little bit of the definitions because people, I keep saying, we need to look up these definitions in the Black Law 4th Edition Dictionary. I don't know if people have. I know I did, which is why when I'm using it in any of my writs, I know to include at least the definition of liberty. So let me just pull it up. Hopefully I have it bookmarked here. I want to read the definition of liberty because it when you hear the word liberty, you don't really realize what it entails until you go and you look it up and you read it for yourself. And when I read it, what I realized is that everything that's going on this continent today where people's liberty is, in fact, being arrested is a constitutional violation. And let's see, it's as as big, as huge as where you live, to how, the food you eat, utilities, the basic utilities that you would need to live life, just that. That's a part of liberty. So if it's been arrested, then that's a serious issue. That's why you go walk down the street and you can see people living on the street, and it seems to be okay. Nobody thinks it's unusual, but it's not okay. And you know what's crazy is the Pope came here and spoke about it, and people who live here don't speak about it. All right, so from Black's Law, 4th edition dictionary, page, let's see, my page numbers are gone. Let's see, what page number is this? All right, my page numbers are gone, but it's in the Black's Law 4th edition dictionary. Okay, 1060, 61, 62, 63, 1060, 1064. All right, 1064 of the Black's Law 4th edition dictionary. Liberty reads, freedom, exemption from extraneous control. Freedom from all restraints except such as are justly imposed by law. Freedom from restraint under conditions essential to the equal enjoyment of the same rights by others. Freedom regulated by law, the absence of arbitrary restraint, not immunity from reasonable regulations and prohibitions imposed in the interest of the community, the power of the will to follow the dictates of its unrestricted choice and to direct the external acts of the individual without restraint, coercion, or control from other persons. The word liberty includes and comprehends all personal rights and their enjoyment. It embraces freedom from duress, freedom from governmental interference in exercise of intellect, in formation of opinions, and the expression of them, and in action or inaction dictated by judgment. Freedom from servitude, imprisonment, or restraint. Freedom in enjoyment and use of all of one's power, faculties, and property. Freedom of assembly, freedom of citizen's banishment, freedom of locomotion or movement, freedom of occupation, freedom of press, freedom of religion, and right to acquire and enjoy property, right to acquire useful knowledge, right to carry on business, right to earn livelihood, right to immigrate, and if a citizen to return, right to engage in lawful business, to determine the price of one's labor, and to fix the hours when one's place of business shall be kept open, right to enjoy to the fullest extent the privileges and immunities given or assured by law to people living within the country, right to forswear allegiance and expatriate oneself, right to freely buy and sell as others may, right to labor, right to live and work where one will, right to marry and have a family, right to pursue chosen calling, and right to use property according to owner's will. Liberty on its positive side denotes the fullness of individual existence. On its negative side, it denotes the necessary restraint on all, which is needed to promote the greatest possible amount of liberty for each. The word liberty, as used in the state and federal constitution, means in a negative sense, freedom from restraint. But in a positive sense, it involves the idea of freedom secured by the imposition of restraint, and is in this positive sense that the state, in the exercise of all by the imposition upon particular persons of restraint, which are deemed necessary for the general welfare. Now, I'm going to stop right there because there's so much more to the definition of liberty. There's so much more to the definition of liberty, but I want to kind of segue, so to speak, and talk about something else that's relative to liberty, the freedom of the people to do, and what that means from a constitutional perspective. How many people saw this movie called, oh my gosh, what's the name of this movie? It was, I can't believe I just movie, and it was about NWA, the formation of, yeah. It was like a hip-hop movie. What was the name of the movie? Straight Outta Compton. Compton? Straight Outta Compton. Yes, I just watched that because, you know, I'm not into hip-hop, and I'm slow on watching some movies. So I just saw all of it today. And what was interesting to me when I watched that movie was that you had unconscious Moors talking about F the police, right? That was F the police. And then the police didn't like that because they felt like they were in charge and you were being rude and disrespectful to the police. And because they felt this way, they took it into their hands, much like they do today, to violate the people who felt this way, their constitutionally secured liberty. Because, not because it was right, but simply because they had the power to do so, and the only power they had was they had a gun. That was it. If they didn't have that gun, I'm thinking that the situation probably would have been very different. But because they did have a gun, and most people know that guns kill, they were blatantly violating the people's liberty. And what was interesting to me is that even the modern European appeared to know that it was unlawful, but didn't quite know that it was absolutely unconstitutional. And of course, the unconscious Moors absolutely didn't know it was unconstitutional at all. They didn't even have a clue to that. So I'm looking at that, which is like 1996, I want to say. Here we are in 2016, and the same thing is happening. We literally got people who are being murdered, and people think that, you know, it's an issue of racism, right? Racism, as opposed to violation of law and violation of the American Constitution. Which, if our people read the Constitution, knew the Constitution, knew exactly, I'm not just talking Moors, but I would say modern Europeans as well as Moors, because they're targeting the Asiatic unconscious Moors because they just don't know. They really don't know. Yes. I heard, yeah, they did. They did. I heard them speaking from a constitutional perspective. When they did the what do you call it? They had a what do you call it? Press conference. They had a press conference, and you heard them talking about constitutional liberties in the press conference. And the position and the points that they were making were absolutely valid. They were talking about the First Amendment right to speak or right to speech. All right, and they were absolutely correct. But it was so much more deeper than that, because these municipal employees felt like they had the power and the authority to degrade the very people they allege to protect. The very people that they compel under threat, duress, and coercion to give them income on a regular basis, not necessarily because they kidnapped them and they're extorting, but maybe cause one of the things that I noticed in that movie was everybody had cars. Did you notice that? Everybody had conveyances, automobiles, personal property. Now, I don't know how they do it in California, but I know in some union, let me rephrase that, in many municipal corporations, they compel you to give them yearly income under the guise of a motor vehicle property tax. I don't know if they do that up here. I think they don't do that up here in this area. But in some areas they do. And then the question becomes, and I know most people have never asked the question, what is this for? Why do I have to give you income? What is the purpose of that? How does that benefit me? Because it seems like it's benefiting you, but I'm not clear how it's benefiting me. Yes? But isn't that within their record deal? But that's within their record deal. I hear you. That's unconstitutional as well. Well, and that's probably in their contracts, but if they don't know how, chances are if they don't know the Constitution, what's the chances of them knowing contract law? Yeah, I heard about that. Right. Well, yeah, well. Right. That's all right, Dad. That's all right. Well, that's my family too. Okay. Well, actually, they're not. That's not how. Actually, because one of the things that I noticed in this movie was that they were successful in dividing those brothers, and they started with Eazy-E. Then they moved on to Dr. Dre, and then I think maybe at the same time, Ice Cube. Is it Ice Cube? Ice Cube. All right, and that. So to me, what I saw was they were successful in dividing the brothers because they're brothers. They were successful in dividing the brothers, and because of this, the first division, it broke up the group to a degree. Once that happens, anything is possible. Anything. And they showed you. The death of Eazy-E is absolutely questionable because he was from what I got, he was starting to realize some things that took place that went over his head that he's now aware of. And so I'm not sure if he was planning to unite with the brothers before he passed or he was able to unite. Right. That's why, exactly. Because, people, one of the things that we need to recognize as a people is, there's just so many things we need to recognize as a people, like immunization. Immunization is just, if you go back into the history of these various different companies, which are now, which evolved into corporations, which now are referred to as county, city, actually states, county, city, town, township, boroughs. if you go back and you look at the history of these entities, you will find that back when they first came here, one of the things that was happening is that we were dying like in large numbers because we didn't have any immunity to the diseases that they were coming here with. Now, I have my own opinion about that because I know that if your diet is correct, you can be in the middle of a pandemic and you will not get infected. So to me, what that says is our diet had already changed drastically. Because if it had not, we would not have been able to get infected. So our diet had drastically changed, which is why they were able to give us like contaminated blankets, which led to us contracting many of the various diseases that they carried. Not was indigenous to us, but they carried and brought over here. So now, if we know the history of that, then how far off would we as a people be in equating that to immunization today? You know, how far off we and the most ridiculous thing is back then we were clueless, and guess what? Today we're clueless. But the game for modern Europeans has always been the same, and it still is. It's the same game, and that game is to remove all of us. That's their purpose. That's why they're here. Their purpose is to remove all of us, all of the Aboriginal indigenous people of planet Earth. That is their purpose. And they do it in a lot of different ways. And if we're not studying, number one, and if we don't draw a circle around our passions and square up our conduct, which means get a control of your ego, it will continue. It will continue to use us to generate revenue, meanwhile, at the same time, getting rid of us in large numbers. Now, the other way that they do this is, how many people are familiar with the doctrine of discovery? Doctrine of discovery? That's all right. You read it? How many people read the doctrine? How many people are aware of the doctrine of discovery? It's also called the Intercatera Divina. All right. All right. Now, in the Intercatera Divina, what do they do? What is their purpose in the let me break it down for you. In the Intercatera Divina, which is the doctrine of discovery, their purpose with that is to absolutely divide the family. Divide the family. Remove the child from the mother, which causes great mental damage, right? Now, one of the ways that they have mentally conditioned us is for us to look at sons, even sons that we're involved with intimately, as something other than our children. They're our children too. They're our sons. There's only mother and son. If we can keep that straight in our head, it all will make sense. There's only mother and son comes out of mother. All right? So the next step is to divide the mother and the son, which they have successfully done. Right? Right? Historically, we know all about that. What is that called today? It's all about drawing dots. What is that called today? They have two industries that perpetuate that activity today. Most of you sons know it as child support, right? No. And the other one is this industry they call DCF, Department of Children and Family, or I should say the Department of Unchildren and Unfamily, right? Yeah. They go after the son to divide the son and the mother, and then they go after the children to damage the psychology of the child at a very young age, as young as they can, because most children, if they have a challenge in their life, it's because of their mother. It doesn't mean that she's right or wrong. It just means that most people have life challenges because of the relationship that they had with their mother. And with a lot of sons, it impacts them more because sons are very sensitive. Daughters will get over it to a degree, but sons are like super sensitive. So another area that they utilize to keep us divided is to have sons disconnect totally, and that's a mental disconnect. They disconnect totally from the fact that their feelings and emotions have been injured because of the lack of the relationship that they had with their mother. They will deny it instead of acknowledging it and healing it. Healing does not necessarily mean you got to go to your mother and tell her all the things she didn't do. Healing means that you resolve those things within yourself. And that's not just with your mother. That's with any interaction that you have with anybody. Healing is not about the other person. It's about you. However, they have this, in this society that we are forced to deal with, that's so foreign to us. If you as a son trying to acknowledge that emotional feeling side of yourself, then that what comes into play is, oh, you're a punk, right? Oh, you're a punk. Men don't cry, stuff like this, right? And the sad thing, I've seen this happen to like 5-year-olds. I've seen their mother, because everybody is mentally conditioned. I've seen mothers tell their 5-year-old son, shut up, men don't cry. And I'm looking at them like, that is a baby. What are you talking about? But it starts just that. It starts young like that, if not younger. And so what is the purpose of all of this? We have to first, before we can even start talking about the protections of the American Constitution, we as a people, individually, we have to be real with ourselves. We have to be real with ourselves and know that first and foremost, we have mental conditioning right now that's working against us. We would be foolish not to acknowledge that. We would be foolish not to look for that. And we would be even more foolish not to eradicate that. That is not going to happen simply because you autographed a name correction and proclamation. You have to hunt for that within yourself and cut it out, because it's there. It's there for each and every one of us. That is the mental conditioning that the prophet came to free us from. But if you're in denial of it, then you can't be freed. We have to acknowledge that every last one of us have been mentally conditioned to self-sabotage and self-destruct ourselves. It's just the way it is. There's no pretty or easy way to say that. It's just the way it is. But just like with everything, once we acknowledge it, it becomes easier to cut it out. And so we have to acknowledge that. We have to look at the many different manifestations of this mental conditioning, because it comes across the board. And all of it is designed to tear you down, even though you might think that you're tearing down someone else or it is tearing down someone else. It's about you. And that's why the prophet said, I come to free you from this mental enslavement. And he also said, I gave you enough to save a nation. Now free yourself. Because really and truly, if you were to really look into yourself, you would recognize that there is a lot of work to be done for you, and you really don't have time to be looking at somebody else. If you got the call, you got the message, it's for you. And so how can you help your brothers and sisters? You study. You search within yourself for all of that that's working against you. You read for you. I was reading the Holy Quran last week, a chapter or two every day, and when I read chapter 1, I've read it so many times, but I saw it with new eyes. But also when I read it a second time, I realized I was reading it. We all have this tendency to do this. I was reading it, and I was like, that's so-and-so. That's so-and-so. Yep, that's so-and-so. I'm going to have to tell them to read chapter 1 so that they can see themselves, right? But all the time, it's you reading it. We need to read. If we're going to read, we need to read for ourselves, not for anybody else. They need to read for themselves. You need to read for you. So with that in mind, I had to reread chapter 1 for me, because as I was reading it initially, I was reading it and seeing other people. So I had to reread it for me. And because I reread it for me, I started seeing a lot of similarities. You know, it's amazing because time moves on, but the players remain the same. And I was reading in there the story of Herod. How many people remember the story of Herod? It's told in the Ten Commandments movie. They kind of give you some information about that story. How many people remember the story of Herod? Y'all don't remember it? Oh, wow. I thought I didn't know my Bible that well, but I guess I do. The story of Herod is an interesting one because in the story of Herod, there's a prophecy. And the prophecy is that a king is going to come and he will be the savior of the world. And all the people will rejoice in his arrival. You remember? And so what did Herod do to prevent that from happening? Exactly. He went and he had them murder all of the babies. I can't remember the age group, but I think it might have been from age 5 back. All boys, right. All the male child from the age 5 back to infancy, murdered every last one of them. And as I was reading it, I was like, wait a minute, that sounds like what they're doing today, isn't it? That sounds like what they're doing today. That's the DCF. Right? Because, see, murder does not necessarily mean the physical body. It could mean the consciousness. Right? So I said, well, they're doing that with DCF. And then when you look at the prison, who's in the prison? Many of them is firstborn sons. They go in there and you never hear from them again because they make it so that you can't afford to keep tabs on your family member who was kidnapped and is being held prisoner. So there are probably those in this institution that are murdered and nobody ever knows about it. The story of Herod, right in the Bible, all the firstborn sons. Why would they want to murder all the firstborn sons? What? Well, yes. They are looking for the Messiah, and the lineage is very important. However, the lineage has already been affirmed because there's only 2 families here on planet Earth. you got the modern Europeans, you got the Asiatics. It don't matter what name or family or location you want to say you're coming from, there's only two families. Even if you may be confused about which family you belong to, it's apparent every time which family you belong to, whether you want to acknowledge that or not. But in looking at these sons, it also brings me back to the prophecies and the statements of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, because he says that we are going to be forced to make change. And I've never heard, when they were doing the lynching back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, I don't think it was as terrible or as enormous as it is today, with them kidnapping these sons and putting them in prison by the millions. Right? It's like, to me, the number contrast is huge. Now, what is annoying to me, I'm saying, is I'm looking at this movie, Straight Outta Compton, and I'm looking at these people who literally think that the police is government, that the police have some authority. What they're saying is not wrong. That's just police. It's not wrong, because if you really check out the Constitution, there's no provisions in the American Constitution, 1791, for a police. Did y'all hear me? There's no provisions in the American Constitution for a police. And to have any police is absolutely unconstitutional. Do you know why? Anybody know why? All right, I will tell you. Well, it's a little bit deeper than that. Yes, they are code breakers, but it's a little bit deeper than that. Well, that's true. That is true to a degree. That's correct, but specifically why? There's no provisions in the American Constitution, 1791, for police. But why is it so absolutely unconstitutional to have a police? And if there is a police in evidence, it means that you are 100% not government. I'm going to tell you why. There's case law that says this too. The police are there to protect who? Corporations. The Constitution sanctions the protection of who? The people. You see why it's unconstitutional? It's simple, right? Very simple. And this is why if any police I don't care if they brand it on their skin as employees of these municipal corporations, it doesn't change the fact that they are literally corporate security guards for that corporation, and they hold permits to carry guns. That's it. And the thing about it is, the guns they carry, are they individually permitted to them? No. Oh, my. But if you individually went and got a gun, they would tell you have to have a permit individually. So that means that the police department corporation has a blanket permit for all their employees. That's absolutely 1,000% correct. But guess what? That's how it's supposed to be for automobiles as well. If you work for a company and you drive a bus, a tractor trailer, a truck, a pickup truck, any motor vehicle that is not owned by you, they are supposed to have a license to operate their motor vehicle that blankets you. You ought not be mandated to go and get a CDL license. You're not supposed to be mandated to go get that because it's not your corporation. That's not your company. You receive a paycheck for compensation for your energy. That is it. You don't receive dividends for sitting down on your butt. You receive a payroll check for your energy, for the compensation of your energy. That's it. Nothing else. Yes? Well, do you know of any police officers on American soil? I know, but do you know of any? Really, where? On American soil? Where? 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 Yeah. Where? For what corporation? Which one? Jersey. New Jersey. I know what a peace officer is, but they are not operating as peace officers. Peace officers do not carry guns, period, at all. They're about peace. A peace officer is almost on the same scale as a sheriff, a sharif. The obligation of a sharif is to protect the people. So if you got a sharif and they're coming to remove you from your home, or they're arresting your liberties in any shape or form, they are police disguised as sharif. Can I borrow your
municipal corporation give you the title and badge of being a piece of that's part of and could be seen as y'all will see it could be seen as let me suggest to calm down the name but we should be doing that
Islam. Yes. So information, it's not that people are stupid or unintelligent or anything like that. It's just that there's a lot of people that just lack the necessary information so that they can make an intelligent decision. And that's it, really. That's all it is.
Yes. Let's push it there.
Yes. So, yeah. You're not muted now, though. I had to just mute you. All right. I unmuted you. All right. So, yeah. So it's lack of information. It's a gross lack of information. Like, I would ask the question, how many of you guys found this information? How did you find this information? This Moorish nation information, heritage, law. How did you find your way to this information? Say what? The heart? All right. I found it through study. What? How did you find it? Right. All right. All right. What made you come? All right. All right. Anybody else? What? All right. I've always been like a studier, reader. I mean, as far back as I was a little girl, I've been reading anything and everything I could get my hands on. And so I naturally, it's amazing how many people go back and look at books you read like 10, 20 years ago, and the word Moor or Moorish was in those books. Did anybody have? I mean, I did that. I did. I went back and picked up some books that I read like 10, 15 years ago, and the word Moor, actually 20 years ago, and the word Moor and Moorish was in there. I read about the whole Ottoman Empire, which, by the way, is the Moors as well. The Berbers, which is the Moors. The Turks, which is the original Turks. It's Arabs or Arabs, which originally is the Moors. Because, it's so funny. Because one of the things that I recognize that our people suffer from, declared Moors and otherwise, is that we think that because we were born on a certain geographical location of the land, or that we have a different maternal mother, that we're not family. Right? We're not family. This is a serious mental conditioning, because here's the thing. If all of us in this room now could look at each other and just for ourselves acknowledge, wow, that's family. Imagine how few arguments you would have. Right. Exactly. So now, if my objective is to make sure that you never unite, what am I first going to do? I'm going to make sure that you think and believe that where you were born and who you were born to separates you and I as family, when that is so not the case. It's not the case. There's only two families on this planet. There was only one originally, but then we messed around and created another species of human, and so now we have two families on this planet. We got the Moors, whether they're conscious or not, and we got the modern Europeans. Now, what we also have to get into our heads, especially you sons, is whatever the child comes out of, that is what it is. You hear me? Whatever the child comes out of, that is what it is. I'm going to say it again. Whatever the child comes out of, that is what it is. Now, why is that important for sons especially to get? Because many sons is claiming the offspring of a totally different family just because you had sexual relations with the woman. But the fact that you had sexual relations with a woman does not mean it changes the species and nature and family of the child. But that's all part of the programming. That's all part of the divide and conquer. That's how our family got infiltrated. You know, the prophet talks about the infiltration, but the infiltration happened on many levels. It happened internally as well as externally. And one of the major components to implement this infiltration is the ego. Because, you know, when the ego is in charge, logic goes right out the window. Right? The ego is in charge, logic goes right out of the window. For example, we got these sons who, because they have sex with women, they think that their sperm impregnated that woman, but she came here with those eggs. That's right in the 101, right? Now, for the sisters, it's just as traumatic, because you have sisters who will go and drop that child that they came here with off somewhere and never return, because they also have been mentally conditioned that that's his child. Ain't got nothing to do with me. But that child would not be here if not for the egg that was in your womb. So we are mentally conditioned to damage ourselves and our families on an individual basis. So we have got to let go of these mental conditioning that's designed to destroy the family. They're all over the place. Trust me, just because you put your appellation on name correction and proclamation doesn't mean it all gets erased. There is a lot of work to be done, a lot of work. For some of you who are having challenges with these municipal corporations in their hearing rooms, that many people have been mentally conditioned to believe is a courtroom, the majority of your issue is because of that ego, because of that mental conditioning. Because I'm going to tell you, I got this information in 2008. I've been studying the right to travel from 2008, and I myself was wondering if I'm ready to take it on. Now, some of us, we think, oh, I make that decision. No, you don't, because the universe made it for me. I got pulled over by a municipal employee, and now it is on. Thank Jesus that I have been studying since 2008 and nonstop, because I'm going to tell you, if I was not studying since 2008, I would be done already. Now, does that mean I still don't have mental conditionings that I'm working on? No. Because even in the midst of all of this, some things raised their head, and I had to deal with it. So this learning and growing, if you can just get into your head that, look, once you begin, it never ends. When I tell you study, 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 don't think I'm giving you a bad word. Don't think I'm cussing you out. And don't think that when I say you need a minimum of a year and you did a year and a half, you're done. That's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. Every last one of you are here to fulfill some life purpose. And trust me when I tell you this. You need to just study and study and study. Don't stop studying. Don't take on projects. Don't make decisions for yourself. Okay, I'm going to go and tackle this. Don't do that. Let the universe bring it to you, because that's when you're ready. That's when you're able, and that's when the universe has decided that you have studied enough, and it is now start to internalize and implement what you have taken all of this time to study. Don't be premature and make the decision yourself, because you may not be successful. It sure is. It sure is. And I'm going to tell you right now, now that I'm speaking to anybody hearing in this class, this broadcast, whatever, trust me. If you're scared, if you're faint at heart, if you don't want to be challenged, if you don't want to be tested, stay where you are. Because I'm going to tell you, because you're going to be tested. You're going to be tested. There's no way around it. There's no paper. There's no card. There's nobody you can call that's going to keep you from getting that test. None at all. While you're going through the test, you're going to feel like you're losing your mind, but just keep on going. Because it's going to unveil some things about you that you were not aware of and that you needed to see, because this is your lesson. That's right. This is your lesson. What it's saying is that you still got some work to do on your lower self. Because if you was all up in your higher self, there would be no lesson, right? So there's some work to do. And you know what? The prophet said there's work for us all. And, everybody thinks, I got to go and be this entrepreneur, and I got to go and be a mover and shaker in this area, and I want to be in the national and international arena, and I want people to know me because I'm over there in the international world doing stuff. That's how they equate. There's work for us all. What that means is there is so much work for you to do on you that an entire lifetime and then some, you will still have work to do. Because you are not a shallow person. You're a deep person. You have yet to realize just how deep this particular rabbit hole of self goes. It's not a disgusting journey. It's not a dirty journey, but it is a challenging journey, and nobody can do it for you. That's what this is all about. This Constitution, you know what this Constitution does? This Constitution, it gives you the space you need to find yourself. That's it. And if you're not here aware of this information right now, if you weren't supposed to be here, you would not have gotten the call. I would not be looking you in the face. You would not be hearing this broadcast. But if you're hearing it, and if you're here, you got the call, just like I got the call. And thank God we answered the phone, right? Thank God we answered the phone. Or maybe some people might be like, I wish I had never answered the phone. Just like in the Matrix. In the Matrix, the guy was like, why, oh, why did I take the blue pill? Was it the blue? I should have taken the red pill so I could stay asleep and not be aware of all of this crap. What? The blue pill. Yeah, the blue pill. If I had taken the blue pill, I'd be eating this steak, and it would taste like a steak, and I would know it's a steak. I'd be oblivious. Did he say that? So why, oh, why did I take that damn red pill? Yes, ignorance is bliss. I love that movie. I have 1, 2, and 3. When I saw 3, I didn't like it. You know why I didn't like it? Because I wasn't ready for it. But then when I watched it more than one time, I got it. And I was like, wow. I could see the parallel, 3, with much of what Prophet Noble Drew Ali said. Also, I could see what I had read, because, before I got to this information, I read metaphysics. Metaphysics is deep. It goes down into the well, the dark, deep well, no light down there. It goes deep into the well, and it brings you information that makes you really think. Really think. And you're going to take a couple of days to think about it because it's just that deep. The prophet does the same thing, but people, they don't take the necessary time to contemplate on that information so that it can go deep into them and open up some passageways. But that is the purpose. This information that Noble Joelle brought us, it is for each and every one of us individually, and it is going to rip you open and expose you to you. This is not about somebody else. This is all about you. So if you're not ready to deal with that, don't mess with this information because it's going to rip you open. That's the whole purpose. You got to be reborn. You got to be the new you. You got to be reborn. You got to wear the white clothes. You got to be bathed in the fire. You got to go through the fire. You got to go through the fire. And it's like you're going to grab this rope. It's going to be pulling you through the fire, and you're going to be pulling back. Meanwhile, that rope is going to pull you through the fire. You're going through the fire. It doesn't matter. Unless you let go, you're going through the fire. There's just no other way. But once you get to the other side, you realize, man, this was not as difficult as I thought it was going to be. But you got to go through it. If you don't go through it, then you're never going to arrive at the person that you're here to be. You know, these modern Europeans, they got us thinking that we're so insignificant. We're just here to have a good time. You know, we're here to, for guys, it's to hook up with as many girls as you want to. For girls, it's to find your soulmate. To find the one that completes you, even though you're already complete, right? Or it's to find that mansion house, or the Lexus, the brand new Lexus, the 2017 Lexus, you know, or to be the number one rapper. It's something that's all based in the ego, right? All based in, because if the modern European can keep you wallowing around in your lower self, you will never be the awesome person you came here to be. Never. Nothing, you know. I remember really getting it one time, and, you know, it was the discussion was they had us thinking that we were nothing. Many people, you look at the children today, they think they're nothing. They think they have no history. They came from nowhere. They just came out of the blue, nothing, just nothing. Nothing to offer, nothing to get, nothing. Just that's their mantra these days, nothing. But in reality, you didn't come here to be no lawyer. You didn't come here to be no doctor. You didn't come here to be no Nobel Prize winner, no fantastic athlete, no master rapper, music. You didn't come here for none of that. Everybody came here for one purpose and one purpose only, to find yourself, to expand your energy, and to hold it for yourself. That's it. And then in holding your energy, you help everybody else. You know, I got that lesson a couple of years ago because I was licked in on the second floor, and there was this wannabe Christian sister living on the first floor, and I had gotten into reading the Biblioteliotext because I got tired of people talking to me about it. How many people have read the Bible, the Holy Bible, the Biblioteliotext? You know what? You ought to read it. Don't throw it away because our ancestors wrote that. Don't throw that away. It's some gems in there. I got tired of people talking to me about that piece of writing. so I picked it up because I wanted to see if I read what they said, if I would come to the same conclusions. And I didn't. Many people under the modern European doctrine believe, because this is how it is portrayed to them. Not that they're ignorant or stupid. This is what their mental conditioning is. They believe that they're not going to get anything unless there's some pain and suffering. And that the more pain and suffering they endure, the better their afterlife is going to be. That's the mental conditioning. This is what they got. This is what I was told until I read it for myself. And I realized that's not what it says. I read it and I realized that, look, that biblioteliotext is amazing. Because basically what it's saying the same thing from beginning to end. It's saying that just like chapter 1 of the Holy Quran, man is mind, and how do you create? How do you create? With your mind. In the Bible is saying the same exact thing. It says your words will be a blessing or a curse. And we be following everybody and cursing ourselves every day. Every day. The Holy Quran, chapter 1, says man is mind. Right? And then it goes on and it talks about in the mind is where the seeds is planted and the seeds will manifest, right? And it will take form in the physical. Your words will be a blessing or a curse. Because your words and your thoughts is the seed. We are literally, what's the word? We prophesize our life every day. Every day. That's why we have to be careful what we listen to, what we watch, and who we talk to, and the conversations that we have. Because if we're not, we will curse ourselves every day. And then be wondering, well, how'd that happen? I don't understand. Why does bad things keep happening to me? Because you keep on thinking it. Listening to these songs that just prophesize gloom, doom, heartache, lack of love, love of you, love of self. Right? And these movies, what is up with these movies? It's like today, the movies, is just all the movies coming out, it's like all of them just want to scare you out of your skin. Like, if you really don't have a grip on reality, you will literally think that there's going to be some boogeyman that comes out from under your bed and drags you into hell. I know. It's when I was a young girl, I could never sleep with the closet open because of these types of movies. I think I couldn't. I had to shut the closet door, or I could not sleep because I just knew something was going to come out of that closet if the door was open. And then they made the movie The Exorcist, which I see they got a new Exorcist movie. I'm like, why? Right? But there's a new one. It's a manifestation of the mind. Exactly. So when you watch these types of movies and you listen to these types of so-called music, what are you manifesting? Fear. It's all fear. And what did Job say? That which I fear has come upon me. Look, man, you know what? This is Moorish science. How can we be Moors and we do not understand the science of Moors? Many people I talk to via emails from, they're in a lather. They're in a panic about the situation that they're involved in. And when you talk to them, when you're talking to people, you really have to be talking here, but then detach your mind and be up here. Because if you're up here, you're watching people talk and you realize, man, they're manifesting exactly what they say they don't want. And then when you try to tell them this, they will be in absolute denial. Why? Because that's their lesson. That's their lesson, but then they'll say, oh, you will help me. Yes, I really can't because I don't have access to your mind. Only you do. And you already put the script together and implemented it, and you won't listen to anybody else. So what do you want me to do? Yeah, it's like that's what it's not scary. You know what our purpose is? I mean, we got so many purposes. The prophet, I can't say that the prophet said there's work for us all. There's work for us all regarding ourselves. Yes. That's what it's about, you. That's why he said, I gave you enough to save a nation, I save yourself. There's so many facets and turns and intricacies to each and every one of us. You really think that you're going to solve it in a year? You really think you're going to figure it out in a year? You think you're going to figure it out in a month? You think just because you put your appellation on the name correction proclamation, get a national identification card, you figured it out? You figured out the beautiful, complex person you are? You haven't even begun to stretch the surface. And did you unmute your phone? And I got you back in, and you are unmuted.
Okay, I am not unmuted now. All right, I've got a great, because I wanted to ask you a question. You see I'm sitting here. I wanted to ask you a question about the Constitution because the prophet said to enforce it, right? We want to see, like you said, it's to save your liberties, but a great example of how, like you said, just because you put your name on the proclamation or you got a card or whatever, right? Where is it? I just had it in front of me. Oh, okay. So I get this. It doesn't matter who it's from. I'm not talking about that person. I'm talking about the mindset that you're talking about of our people when they write to you stuff like this. They say, oh, shucks, hold on, just give me a second. Where is it? It came through the Gmail. Okay. They say, all right, they've got the card. This is kind of good and bad at the same time, but it is an example of what you're saying that people want you to do. They want you to do it for them. I just had this. Okay, view details. Oh my gosh, where is it? You know what? I was just reading it, and I said this is such a good example of what our problems are, and no matter what you do, peace and love, family. I was trying to inquire more about RVBey publication because my Grand Sheik. Now I ain't talking about no temple, but this is just what they said. Don't matter. Grand Sheik is telling me we don't know who we're giving our money to. Like we shouldn't stand all the way behind them. Are you hearing it? You're hearing it, sir. First of all, RVBey publication is a publication comment and a Moorish publication at that. And why would your Grand Sheik or anybody tell you not to support? Yeah, this is craziness that we have. But the only people who give me a problem with my card is the police. This is what the guy said, right? I am trying to figure out how do I become a registered Moor. Oh, yeah. A registered Moor, America-like. America-like. Now, mind you, this is someone who's already done what you said, put their name on there. Okay. Do I need to do a native tribe registry? I need to comment on along with my nationality card, because I got a job with my card, but they still taking them taxes out. But I thought the AA number was for that. Like, aren't they not honoring this because I am not fully recognized? So I know you want to comment, but I just want to say the AA number
like this person here didn't study enough about why they're tax non-obligated, right? There's a lot they didn't study.
Yeah.
Moors don't get registered anywhere. They make lawful notice proclamations, and if they knew why the AA was there, and if they studied like the prophets, I really wanted them to tell us.
Let's break that down.
Yes, it's a good breakdown. Good breakdown. Good breakdown. It is. It is.
Good teaching tool.
It is.
So the first thing he said,
what?
Look at this. The first thing he said was.
First thing he said was, please, peace and love, Sami. I was trying to inquire more about, RVBey publications. Yeah, we can do that.
No.
Okay.
Who are you saying?
Oh, because my grand sheik is telling me we don't know who we're giving our money to. RVBey publications, if you're buying something from us, I don't know what. What do you mean, who? I'm family. Are we family? Like, didn't you say that?
Yeah. Now, the second thing he said was, how do you get registered?
Okay, he says because I'm going to shouldn't we stand all the way? Oh, we shouldn't stand all the way. But the only people who give me problem with the card is the police. I'm trying to figure out how do I become a registered Moor America-like. That's a good one.
America-like.
Yeah. This is such a great teaching tool.
And then what
do I need to do a native tribe registry along with my nationality? By the way, the nationality card is an allodial. There's nothing higher, nothing connected at all.
Okay.
Because I got a job with my card, but they still take taxes out. So his concern is taxes. Let me see if there's one last concern. Oh, shucks. Did I hang up again?
Compensation.
Okay. Yeah. Because they are not, because I am not fully recognized. That's a good one. Who do you want to recognize? You recognize yourself.
I think that's about enough.
I think so.
All right. So here's the point. Who are you paying? Right? Question. Number one question, right? Grand Chief saying, who are you paying? Whoa. Who are you paying when you pay your tax bill?
Hello. Tell them about it. Tell them about it. Why are you questioning your own family?
Who are you paying when you get your compensation for your energy?
Don't ask that. Mm-hmm.
Right? But now you got somebody who's taking time and energy to assist you in uplifting yourself. And you want to ask, who are you paying?
Don't stand behind those fools.
I'm not going to ask, who are you paying gas, electric, cell phone, your phone, insurance, right? Water, food, shelter. Who are you paying for all of that? Did you ask them that? Because I can bet you're paying to corporations, but you don't even know who the person is. At least here you know who the person is.
On behalf of RVBey publication, what I find so crazy about that is the fact that when I first started publishing, being knowledgeable of my Moorish, because I always was a publisher, I had a newspaper before, I came to an affair in Brooklyn. Remember the first Brooklyn affair? And I thought for sure, even without the affair, that all the Moorish science temples was going to use the publishing company to get their 101s and their literature. Why not? I'm a Moorish None of them, they just act like I just wanted to say that. You're saying who you're paying gas, electric. I'm making myself known as a Moor, and none of them wanted to this day, none of them put an order in for me to supply all the MSPs across the nation with anything, not even a 2-page 101. Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter why. We're going to stick to the script the sister's giving here, that they're asking the Grand Sheik and all that saying, who are you paying? Be careful. But yet they don't ask about that right there. So I just wanted to speak for one of the intents of the publishing company, which I found, to my dismay, did not happen because of the lack of unity or whatever it is. However, Allah and the universe seems to so far grace us with what we're doing anyway. It's fine. Keep going.
The next question is how to get registered. You want to be registered. Why? Aren't you already registered? Isn't that what the whole nom de guerre and the birth certificate and Social Security is all about? Isn't this about getting unregistered? So why would you have a need to register your pre-national appellation and get right back where you're trying to get from?
Would you say, sister, that is the mentality of the modern European? That's not the proper governmental stuff.
The prophet said, I came to free you from your mental enslavement, and you said, but I got to get registered. Exactly. So then he wants to be America-like. America-like. What is that? How do you, as an Aboriginal indigenous being, be America-like when you're already the true American? See, this is lack of information. That's what this is. Lack of information. Because, see, here's the thing. Now, and a very wise person told me this a long time ago, and I've read it in many of our ancestors' writings. As you ask the question, the answer is within the question. How do you be American-like? Well, you're already American. There's your answer. How do you get registered? Well, we're trying to get unregistered. There's your answer. Who are you paying? Who'd you pay over here? To name a few. Let's say we go to get gas put in the automobile, right? Who you paying there? Most people are trying to get the new and improved car every day, every year. I mean, they're probably promoting 2018 cars already, and we still, 2017 cars, and we're in 2016. Who you paying for them automobiles? What a lot of people don't get is, look, with gas, electric, cell, and internet is the same thing as the airwaves. Phone, water, food, shelter, automobile, all right, oil, well, see, where I come from, they call it petrol. Petrol, where does all of this stuff come from? As a Moorish American, where does all of this stuff come from? So what does that make this? Resources. And the resources of the land represent what? Hereditament. Yeah. Hereditament. I know I'm spelling it wrong. Hereditament. What do you think herediments are? Right. Hereditament start with what? Hurrah. That would be what? Your heritage, right? And if that's her, right, that would be mother, right? That would also be, that's inheritance, and nationality, and birth right. Right? There you go. So now what's this Indian tribal affiliation? Well, you got to know, if you do the research, that tribal means what family are you a part of? Well, that's what this is all about. Moorish.
And can you clear that up so that people don't think that we're against? It's mixed up because Indian is a coin, but tribe is the family appellation of the family of the nation. So we don't want to throw out the word tribe, but you don't need to have it registered into an Indian tribe because that's a federally recognized law, lack of jurisdiction. That's not
throw it out. It's a confusion.
Yeah, throw it out.
Throw out the tribal crap. Throw it out because it's a confusion. It's meant to confuse you.
Yes.
Let me ask you something. What's your mother's last name? Abdullah. Abdullah? Your mother's last name is Abdullah? All right. What's your mother's last name? 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 Last name? What's the 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 last name? Les. Mine is Miller. Does that make us all not family? We're not family? Because I'm looking at every last one of y'all, and I got family, and I got people in my family who look just like y'all. Hello? Because we should. And we take it as an insult. You black people all look alike. Well, we should. But we should. We all family. Right? But then we like, what you mean we all look alike? And we take it as an insult, but it is the truth. Right? It's the truth. We're family. It doesn't matter what. You know what? Let me tell you what's crazy. Over in Great Britain, all those people up in our castle, their last name's different, right? But they all know their family. Don't they? They're direct relations. That's why when Charles wanted to marry Camilla, they was like, oh, no, son, you can't come up in here with her. She's not direct in the family line. She's in the family line, but not close enough. She's down there with all that cattle. You got to come up here a little bit closer to us, although we're part of cattle too. But they said, no, you can't get with her and still be king, and then she may someday be queen. Are you retarded? No, you got to let go of that claim. And what did he do? Do you know what he did? He let it go. Stupid. But he let it go. He had Diana. He left Diana for Camilla. Are you crazy? Yep, but sons will do that. But the point is, you have to be of the same blood line and close, and sometimes close, right? Camilla definitely wasn't. That's why he had to give up his right to the throne, even though, it's never, they're imposters because they're not even Moors. Only Moors are supposed to be able to sit on that throne, and that's why they had always tried to kill Elizabeth, because everybody, once again, if you look at the story of Henry, you will see what is going on today. It hasn't even changed. This is our lesson. You have individual lesson, and you have nation lesson. You have, not nation. Well, I guess nation would be correct. The family. Nation, government, family, it's all synonymous. 3 words that all mean the same, one family. But it's our lesson as a family. Our lesson as a family is to stop fighting, because that's what got us in this mess to begin with. Stop dividing over petty, insignificant things, because that's what got us in this position to begin with. Really, I would tell you the ancient story, but you might not be able to take it. It's too deep. But we have to stop participating in these constant divisions with other people. Is your phone muted? All right. Because I don't hear you, because I got a text that there's a lot of feedback, but I don't hear you, so I don't know how there would be feedback unless it might be this mic. So let me turn it off somehow. Well, in case I have questions, we'll turn it back on. So anyway, we got next question was taxes, right? Which is coming out of his compensation. Now, this is what I tell people. This whole tax issue, you need to really get into it and study it. Don't do nothing. Don't change nothing, because what they do with this whole tax issue is really crazy. And I wanted to draw this out for you. When it comes to the taxes that are unlawfully withdrawn from your compensation, who's taking that out? No, we don't take that out. We don't take that out. Who is taking that finance out of your compensation for your energy? Employer, right? Employer, right? And the employer sends it to who? IRS, right. Now, the IRS, then what happens? You try to go to IRS to get your finance back, right? Or the IRS will, your compensation is going to IRS, and you're like, well, how can I get it back from them, right? Right? When in actuality, did you give these people permission to deduct and give to somebody? No. No. No, you did not. Where's that written down? It was that disclosed to you? People will look at their social security number and be like, oh, that's a contract. Do you know the terms and conditions? Come on. Do you know the terms and huh? Exactly. So really what we ought to be doing is, and I know many of us, we're in these places already trying to get out, but what I would say is think about this, because really it's these people that are saying you got to give them something because these people gave them something, right? But you need these people right here because you need to continue getting compensation, right? Because you need to fulfill these things for yourself and your family, right? So unless you really have studied this intensively, don't challenge.
Can I just add something? Because I just heard what they were saying, but the IRS told the employer. But here's what really happened, and then you can, what she's saying to you right there is, the employer who is under the state signed a contract to do business. Like when you go in and you get a license to business, that's why you should not get a license to do business under the jurisdiction. The employer, that you call an employer, they agreed with the state, and IRS is the accounting firm for most all states, all right? And that's all they really are. They're not government, but they made an agreement. You can agree to anything. They said to the employer that you went to work for, look, they agreed to offer the W-4 to W-2. The IRS and the state rules that they signed with the contract to go on business, the W-4, they said if you don't offer this to you that came in to work, we're going to fine you. Now, hold on. Just because they offered it to you doesn't mean you have to accept it. But because, and so this is what she's saying, if you don't know that relationship, right. and I'm not telling you what I don't know, I have done it. The last place I have actually done it, and because I knew the relationship, they couldn't tell me, this is the law, you have to do it. I said, oh, but I'll go to that later. The point is, what she's saying, if you don't understand that relationship, the employer will have you thinking that the IRS is doing this, and they really are acting as an agent for the IRS. But remember, anybody can offer you anything. You don't have to accept it.
Right. That's right. Because who is it that, here's the thing, these people right here who you contracted with, if we want to talk about some contracts, okay, about the only contract you went into with knowledge to a degree is when you said, I'm going to go work for XYZ company, you're going to give me X amount of compensation, I'm going to give you X amount of my energy. That's the only agreement you made, because how many people, when you found when you completed the employment application, right? Did it have the W-4 included in the application for employment? No, it's not, right? That comes secondary, right? So now you agreed to give these people your energy, and they agreed that they're going to give you X amount of finance for your energy, right? So who would be the taxpayer? Exactly. The taxpayer is them. They're the taxpayer. Let me tell you, this is real deep. I wouldn't advise anybody to jump down this particular part of the rabbit hole because it is deep. And while you're trying to navigate your way down that rabbit hole, they will cut off this right here. So you unless you have a plan B, don't start with these people right here because they will cut you loose. Don't start with the IRS because the employer will cut you loose.
Well, hold on. That was one of the things that he said. Should I notify the IRS? It's not the IRS that you need to notify at all if you know what's going on. It's the employer.
Well, you really could notify the IRS
because why do it?
Because first of all, when you notify the IRS doesn't come after you. Feedback. When you notify the IRS, just like when you notify Homeland Security, all right, the Department of Treasury, the Supreme Court, you're just notifying them. None of them ever comes knocking on your door saying, you need to give me this. Because it's a notice. Right, it's a notice. Usually what happens when these people come knocking on your door is because you've been talking to them and probably talking too much about you don't owe your non-obligatory for taxes. Now, let me tell you what I would suggest. First of all, you can't get into this particular area unless you have done a minimum, and that's like so loose, minimum of a year studying about these people, this corporation right here, the IRS. Because if in your studying, what you're going to find is that initially this was an internal agency of the federal government. They're called the Internal Revenue Service because they kept an eye on the internal revenue of the federal government. Then they were actually disbanded. They were disbanded. That's a matter of public record. And then and all of their power was delegated somewhere else. Then they came up with and they weren't called the IRS. They were called the Internal Revenue. No, it was because this is new, and they're even trying to come up with another new name. It's a real, but they were not called the Internal Revenue Service. I have it on the spreadsheet, but I just don't have access to it right now, only because I have it on my computer. I'm good. I have it on my computer, but I wasn't intending to talk about the Internal Revenue Service, so I don't have it up and ready to access. But if you do the chronology of the Internal Revenue Service, you'll see that they were disbanded. All right? They were disbanded, and the Internal Revenue Service can only be implicated for a specific reason, for a specific time, and that are asked of the people have to be proportionate, meaning it's got to be the same across the board. No, and the only time that the taxes, and it's not the Internal Revenue Service, the only time that taxes was implemented was in 1861, when Lincoln wanted to fund the war against the rebels. And that tax collection happened for, I think, 2 years, and then it was repealed. So, and there's been no implementing of taxes ever since. And you will find this if you do the research. So now what you also find if you do the research is that this process that they're imposing can only be imposed on corporations that have a profit and loss statement. Do you have a profit and loss statement every year? No, you do not. But everybody completes that 1040, which is for corporations, as though they are a corporation. And I know I hear people cackling, well, you're a 14th Amendment citizen. No, you're not, because you're not doing it. What would your business be? What would you, if you are a 14th Amendment citizen required to complete this IRS process, what would your business be? Exactly. You don't have a business. You don't. But even on the 1040, it says on the bottom occupation, right? How come ain't nobody putting their business? Right away, they should be returning your stuff and your finance back to you, saying that, because a lot of people, they're students and they're filling out an IRS form. What is your occupation? Student. They should be sending their finances and form back to them. This doesn't apply to you. But the I-9. The I-9. They have people completing the I-9, and the majority of people have never analyzed the whole I-9, its inception. Who does it apply to? What? Exactly. It is agriculture. And you know what? If people, they give you this I-9 and they say, here you go, you have to fill out this I-9, much like they give you the W-4. How many people have read it? How many people, no, really, how many people in your lifetime when you have gone to get employment, how many people read the W-4 or the I-9? But even so, how many people read it? But I know, but still, how many people read it? Even if you didn't understand it, how many people read it? But how many people read that it's for agriculture? It says it right on the form. We read parts. All right, so we read parts, but we didn't read the whole thing. Now, let me tell you. Yeah. Right. You don't. We don't read. Most of us. Most of us don't read nothing. Like, how many people have gone to the hospital and they give you that informed consent form? How many people read that? I read it. The last time. Actually, I don't go to the hospital because I just don't believe that foreigners can do anything for me medically. I just don't go. And I told my daughters, if I end up in a car accident, leave me on the side of the road. Don't put me in no ambulance, and don't take me to, because they're going to kill you. Because I don't eat meat. So they're going to give me medicine based off of meat. That's going to instantaneously kill me. That's what happened with Chevy. Look, now the last time my daughter, when she was, my daughter, her car, she was supposed to get the bearings fixed on her car, and Bob was going to pay it, fix it, and they procrastinated and ended up in an accident because the bearing fell out and the car went left and you lost control of the steering wheel. Who knew that if the bearing falls out? I know you know, but if the bearing falls out, you lose control of the steering wheel and the car will go left, even though if you're turning right. It's like a no-win situation. Just brace yourself for the impact. Well, she ended up, her car ended up flipping over. It was her sister, and her brother. And she calls me, and I'm like, okay, I'm on my way. And so I get there. The fire department is there, the police, the ambulance, probably some ambulance chasers was there too. Everybody was there to collect finance. Everybody. I was like, oh, my God, if this ever happens, I will never call 911. We ought not to be calling 911 anyway. I don't care what your situation is. Do not call 911 because 911 keeps municipal employees in a job. And they are not coming there to help you. They are coming in to see how much they can ring up on the register. All right? So, anyway, my daughter goes to the hospital. You see all these crows, come down trying to figure out how they can get some food. All these crows. All right? Everybody was there. Blocked off the road and everything, and they sent the bill for the ambulance ride. It was like over $500. I sent it back. I said, I never called you. Send it to who called you. Because I didn't call you. My daughters couldn't have called you, and even if they did, they're underage, so it doesn't matter. Yeah.
I know that for the business.
Say that again.
The taxes are for the corporation business. It's not for the consumer.
Right. All right.
But it's passed on to the consumer, and I always tell the store owners that you're doing an illegal thing by passing on the taxes, the sales tax, to the consumer.
That's right.
And they're saying, oh no, we have to charge you tax. I said, but
no.
Don't tell them it's illegal. Don't say illegal.
Let me just say this. Use your phone. Let me just say this. The people, the clerks, the little people they don't know nothing. They don't know nothing. They're going to tell you, even when you call up certain places, they're like, oh, my God. Monday, my internet went on my phone. Now, my card says I have unlimited internet, right? So but they, now that you get up to this 4G LTE, supposed to be the old wonderful phone, so you got a set amount of internet time, minus 5Gs, 5 gigabytes, right? But my card says unlimited internet, so that's what I'm on. So if you read the fine print, it says you got 5 gigabytes until you maxed out, then it drops down to 2 gigabytes. Fine, not a problem, because I can still Google with 2 gigabytes. I just can't watch no movies. I had none of that. So I call up the customer service line 1, 2, 3 times. They turn the phone. Oh, we updated. Turn your phone off and turn it back on, and you should be all set. Wasn't set. Fourth time, you turn it off 2 hours from now, and then turn it on. You should be all straight. Wasn't straight. So I called at like 10 o'clock Sunday because I ain't had my internet for 4 days now. I called at like 10 o'clock on Sunday, and I said, you're going to fix this today. So I'm talking with one girl, and she's trying to tell me, it's your phone. I said, no, it's not. I can tell she's reading the script because she's telling me that I need to make sure Wi-Fi is on. I don't use Wi-Fi. Not on this phone. I don't ever use the Wi-Fi on this phone. Is your data on? Well, if it was not on, I would have noticed that by now, which certainly would not warrant me calling you, right? So then so they're taking me through these elementary steps. And then she says, well, I can't help you unless you have an alternate phone to call from. I said, I don't have an alternate phone. And for you to say I need to have an alternate phone in order for you to fix your system problem is unreasonable because I know I'm not the only one experiencing this. It's not the phone. It's your system. Yes, it's your phone. I said, no, it's not. I can go to Walmart and get a service card right now and have them apply it right now, and my internet will pop right back on. No, it won't. I said, sister girl, I've had this phone for years. I know more about this system and this phone than you do. This is exactly what's going to happen. So I tell you what you do. You get me your supervisor because you don't know how to assist me at this point. Yes, I do. I said, that's all right. Just give me the supervisor. You're going to have to wait a while. Fine. Script. I get to the supervisor, and he's a little bit more knowledgeable. He's giving me these comforting words. Well, that's good to know because we need to research this. I'm like, you're going to tell me that since you introduced this 4G LTE, other people haven't called you about this problem? I'm the only one? Well, no. I said, so you're not documenting it. No. I said, I tell you what. I don't have it because then he went to you need an alternate phone. I said, I ain't got one. And you need to note that in my account because I'm tired of telling you the last person that I spoke to should have told you, but they didn't. I don't have an alternate phone number. This is not my phone. It's your system. Fix it. He gave me the runaround. I said, you know what? Forget about it. Where are you located in? Philippines. I said, you don't even have the equipment to tap into my phone. I said, never mind. I will be writing a letter to corporate headquarters, CEO, tomorrow about this issue. Thank you very much. Hung up. I didn't even get into the house. My 4G was back on. Because the little people don't know how to fix nothing, but I can guarantee you, I know y'all missed this, but I don't. every time you call someplace, they say phone call may be recorded for quality and learning. Blah, blah, blah. Well, I used to work in a company that they had supervisors who used to listen in, and never happened to me, but I know it happened to people around me. If you're on the phone and you're not handling the call right, somebody will come up to you and say, put them on hold right now. Somebody will come up to you and say, you're not handling that right. Hang up. Do this. Blah, blah, blah. So I guarantee you somebody was listening. As soon as I said, I'm going to be writing a letter to corporate headquarters because this is ridiculous, and I hung up. I didn't even get into the house, and my 4G was back on. Somebody was listening. I said the magic word, right to corporate headquarters. Exactly. So when you get into situations like this, you have to find out who exactly you're dealing with, because the IRS will stick you on your employer will stick you on the IRS, right? So you've got to do research to know who is the IRS and just what kind of powers they have. They really have none. Everything that they are collecting, even these companies here, they're collecting because the people never question them. Yes? Mm-hmm. No. Here's the thing. See, most people, they don't understand why is it that you're not obligated to pay sales tax in a corporate setting, like you go to Walmart, gas station, whatever. Why are you not required? It's in the Constitution. Because only Congress can lay and collect taxes. That's number one. It's right there. That's like, boom. That's your foot up the butt right there, that Constitution, right? But then if you understand accounting and a little bit about business, then the tax obligation could never be the consumers because you're not selling anything. The only way that you can be obligated for taxes, if you were in that capacity, a corporate capacity, is if I bought a bulk if I bought like a case of toothpaste and I wanted to sell it to him, and if I signed up to be under the sales tax program of the state, I would have to pay the tax, right? So if I go to Walmart and I buy a case of toothpaste, Walmart can't charge me taxes because I ain't sell nothing yet. I purchased. So now if I'm going to sell to him, now I have to pay sales tax if I agree to the sales policy of the state. You see what I'm saying? Do you all get that? Do all y'all get that, though? So now when you go to these places and you're saying, no, I'm non-obligatory, they're going to say, well, I need your sales tax exempt card. No, I didn't say I am tax exempt. I said I am non-obligatory. Now, a lot of places like Walmart, those people at those counters, they will say, I don't know, and they will push you until you say the magic word. I will write to corporate headquarters, and then they will get the manager or supervisor over, and he will probably take off the taxes, and then he'll tell you to take it up with corporate headquarters. Because really, we're not supposed to be talking with these clerks. If you're not talking with the CEO or someone in an executive capacity, you're talking to a clerk. Right? That's it. You think that they want the millions of people that come through that door to hear you talking to a clerk about I'm not obligated to pay tax? They're going to block you unless you know how to stand on your square. And you know why lawfully you're not obligated. Most people will just pull out their national identification card and say, see, there it is right here, non-tax. But if they continue to push back, what are you going to say then? Moor, there's people saying that. That's not the answer. Nobody is obligated to pay taxes, whether you're a Moor or not, especially if you're a Moor. But if you're not a Moor, you're still not obligated to pay taxes because you're not selling anything. Right, you're not selling anything. Now, if you buy something in bulk and now you want to sell it and you agreed to the sales term of that corporate state, then you have to pay taxes. But you're not obligated to pay taxes at all. But you have to know why. Because the last thing these corporations want to do is to be obligated to pay their own taxes. Every lesson, there's not one corporation on this American soil that is not raping the people on a daily basis, and it's all fraud. All fraud. All right? But they can do that as long as the people don't study, don't wake up, don't ask questions, don't write letters, don't do nothing. So now, the last one is he wants to be fully recognized. Well, now, how do you fully recognize that you came out of your mother? How do you do that? You're here. That's the only full recognition you could ever get. Fully recognized. If these people, you know, what's crazy about these people, these modern, look, you got employees of a municipal corporation talking about, we're not going to recognize that you're a Moor. That's like a clerk at Walmart saying, I'm not going to recognize that you're a Moor. Most of our people, they have a temper tantrum. They have a temper tantrum. Stomping their feet, they damn near rolling on the ground. You know, they won't recognize my status. You never needed them to recognize your status. That's why it's declare your nationality. It's called declare because you need to be clear. If you was clear, somebody saying to you, we're not going to recognize your nationality, your birthplace, would mean nothing. Now, if you really want to get real pissy with them, you can say, you can write them, because, see, it's all in the word. All right? So you might want to write a writ, because that is a form of slander and defamation. Are you disrespecting my mother? You know, guys, you know, remember back in the day, if you ever talked about a guy's mother, that was like war. But yet you got these modern Europeans talking about your mother, and you stand there and have a temper tantrum. Same thing. It's the same thing. If they say they're not recognizing your national standing, they just insulted your mother. If you not, I mean, I wouldn't say go to war with them, but I would rip them with a writ. And it's not that in that writ, I'm not begging them, asking them, needing for them to acknowledge what is. I am ripping them because they dare to disrespect my lineal descent line. That's why I'm ripping them. Now, and you don't want to do that while you're standing there, okay? Because it doesn't really, it's not really significant. It's not significant for you to have that conversation with them there, because you know what? When you're having this, it's not documented anywhere. And one thing they know about us is we can go someplace and have a cussing party, a fighting party. We fight. They know. One thing they know about us is they can push our buttons and get us to fight. Now, when you're quiet and you're calm and you do not react, that's when they get very nervous, because now they don't know what way you're going to come. And that's the way I like to keep it. They're not my friends, so we're not having. And then they will try to break the ice by, oh, do you have any children? Oh, and why are you wearing that hat? Oh, is it religion? What's that religion? They try to get cozy up to you like they're a friend, when that's all they try to do is gather information so they can take you out. I am not here. If you are alleging to be in some sort of authoritative position where you're alleging to have some sort of superior jurisdiction over me, my job, damn sure enough, ain't to educate or inform you. You're supposed to already know. Oh, you got jurisdiction over me? Then you know exactly who I am. You know exactly what I'm about. Why you wearing that vest? You're supposed to already know. What's the ill or the bad? You're supposed to already know. Why are you saying you don't have jurisdiction? You're supposed to already know. You said you got jurisdiction over me, so you're supposed to already know, right? Why am I educating you? Why am I giving you? That's a written discovery right there. And they trick you into giving up the information for the written discovery. I'm not going to acknowledge your national. Well, I'm a Moor. My mother come from the age of Canaanite and the Moabite. And I have seen recordings where they break down the chapter 47 right then and there. Why are you giving them the writ of discovery? They just tricked you into giving into a writ of discovery. Now, and they didn't say nothing. They didn't ask questions, but you gave it all up. I am not assisting you to do nothing at all. You're supposed to already know. You say you got jurisdiction over me, then I ain't got to say nothing else. Prove it.
Did you say to stick to the law, which will bring you back to the very beginning of your class, where how important it is to uphold the Constitution, and that's why the
Exactly. You know what? I love that American Constitution. Oh, my goodness. It is a beautiful piece of work. Absolutely brilliant stuff that our ancestors put into word form. It's universal law, but it was put into word form so brilliantly, and it is an absolute travesty that the majority of lineal descendants of those ancient people don't even know the brilliance of that document. Absolutely not. I'm going to tell you, one of the reasons why I feel like I am able to discern a lot of bullcrap is because when I first got into this information, I was given the Constitution to study. I studied that thing inside and out. I got books that talked about the Constitution and broke the Constitution down brick by brick, all right? And then I did that myself, and once I was clear, and it didn't happen in a year. I'm going to tell you right now. It happened, I got like the bulk of it. But then one day I asked myself the question, because, see, this is what contemplation will lead you to do. It'll lead you to ask yourself some questions. Although one European say that's crazy, no, that's brilliant. When you start asking yourself questions, that's brilliant. So I asked myself the question, what is the spirit? What is the spirit of the Constitution? Because, I got into this place, and I know you may have as well, where you was chasing down scripts. If they say this, this is what you say. If they say this, this is what you say. If they say this, this is and I'm like, well, what if they say something that's not in the script? What do I do? So it led me to ask myself, well, what is the spirit? I'm using the word spirit because that's what I have come to find that's what it is. What is the spirit of the Constitution? What is the whole purpose? In one word, what does the Constitution do for you, the people? Protect what is already yours. From who? Corporations. That's it. Yes, protects what is already yours, your God-given right. It protects that which you already have from municipal employees, corporate employees across the board. It doesn't matter if they're calling themselves a municipal, a county, city, town, township, borough, state, fed, private, so-called private company. There's no such thing as a private company. If you do your research, you'll find that every single corporation is an employee of the federal government, and they get funded. They're not producing, many of them are not really producing a product or a service, even though you probably think or have been led to believe that they're producing a product or a service. And why are they not producing a product or a service? Because I am not aware of any of them coming over here with resources on their back to make those products and services.
They're definitely foreigners.
So where do they get the supplies for the products and services that they're selling to the Aboriginal indigenous people of this land today? If they're getting it from the resources of the land. So now, where is the delegation of authority that gave you the right to do that? Can I see it, please? And I'm going to tell you, if you, it seems, because, one of the things that annoys me to no end is when you get Moors that want to duplicate what already is in place, when we got so much work to do. For example, up this way, they got utilities, right? Gas and electric. One of the biggest problems that you have as a people across the land. Well, how did they get to be administering the natural resources of this land? No, it's not an argument. It's a question. Just like in the Matrix. It's the question that drives you. It's the question. How did they get to, where's the delegation of authority? What you have to do is you have to go back to the beginning. Because, see, in the beginning, they were given a charter by the General Assembly, probably of New York. But it is not the company today that was given that charter. That charter was just passed along. For example, it could have been the Electric Company of New York City, right? So here's the Electric Company of New York City. The charter still today is in the name of the Electric Company of New York City. But now it's been passed through all of these people, and it's up here, and he's hanging on to it. But his company is called Con Edison. But he's got the original charter. So now if you get a hold of the original charter, which is in the state library under some statute, you will find that they were chartered to sell the resources of the land to corporations, not the people in their private capacity. You can't make that case until you go to the beginning and you get the charter and you read exactly what the charter says, and more importantly, who issued the charter. Because last I checked, General Assembly of New York was established by Great Britain. So that's another question. But you can't ask that question until you have the charter in your hand. Because you have to have some sort of verifiable documentation to prove that these people initially was given something to administer that they didn't have the right to be given. Even if they are administering it to corporations, who are you collecting that finance for, and where is it going? I mean, that's not the issue at this point. The issue at this point is how are you compelling me to pay for the resources of my ancestral estate, and I'm a lineal descendant. And you're a foreigner, documented. Yes, but what really puts your foot, what would really put your foot down is to back that up with a letter. Back it up with, it doesn't matter what conversation you have, back it up with a letter. on such and such a day, we had a conversation where you said this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. Or I am writing to confirm our conversation of blah, 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 blah. I'm telling you, they don't like it when you document, because you know why? We generally don't. We don't. We don't document that. We don't even document when our liberties have been violated. But modern Europeans do. Let me tell you, I'm going to get you in a minute. Let me tell you, up north has shut down all of their mental health facilities, shut down. Shut down, yes, but what does that mean? See, people don't understand the power of the pen. They don't understand it. See, the majority of the people who benefit from that are modern Europeans, because our people don't put our babies in mental institutions for somebody else to take care of them. Modern Europeans do that, and they come with receipts because they want to get compensated for whatever they send in on their children in that system. Who you think is compensating them? Because they're wards of the state in some form or fashion. So they get compensated by the state. But the state does not administer these programs. The state contracts them to various different municipal corporations who have been doing a piss poor job. So those modern Europeans have written letters, and guess what? The state will no longer get paid for that service, so they had to pass it on to private industry. It doesn't mean there's no more money. It just means that the state will no longer be administering that portion of a program because they did a piss poor job. Now, if we did the same damn thing with the right to travel, the same thing would happen. Why does that not happen? Because most of us, we do not report them to the United States Secretary of Transportation. We don't even know that it's a federal program. We don't even know that if they steal our personal property, which they misclassify as a motor vehicle, the United States Secretary of Transportation is supposed to compensate you, meaning they're supposed to cut you a check because they cannot take your property without compensating you, because that is a federal law, that is a constitution of the American Constitution. It's in, I can't tell you the exact section, but it's in there. I can't tell you it off the top of my head, but it's in there. It's in Title 49. And we'll be talking about Title 49 in the future, because that is what every single one of these, because, right, these states they're allowed to participate. But they ain't write it. Why is it that they did not write it? Why is it that they did not write this particular so-called law? They can't write law. And why can't they write law? Because in Article 1 of the American Constitution, it says the laws shall be written by the Congress of the United States. And then in Article 2, it says the President of the United States of America can administer the laws written by Congress. That's right. They're not, and they're lying. It's in the state of so-and-so. You're a liar, because this is not a state law, nor is it a state program. This is a federal law, federal program, and you, my friend, are allowed to participate. But now you per se, because you're a municipal corporation, I need to see who delegated to you the power to administer a federal program. Hear me? This is why you got to research who your attacker is. Because New York City is a foreign corporation on American soil. It was established by the Duke, Charles II of Great Britain. All right, New York is a company that is subsequently was incorporated. Today it's a corporation. It's a company, it's a corporation. It is what it has always set out to be. So that means that New York is a foreign corporation on American soil administering a federal program? Is that treason?
Hell yeah. So to capitalize a little bit, the prophet Noble Charlie said what? What did the prophet say? What did the prophet say? He said enforce the Constitution so that you are not molested by other citizens, which are these corporations.
Brother had a question. Speak up.
Oh boy, that's another one.
What they're doing unlawfully.
You gotta look at what I would suggest people do is to write a list of your challenges, the greatest to the least. Start with the least, and then work your way up. But that right there, the landlord, that's up in the greatest. But I will say this. For everybody who is being compelled to pay rent to a so-called landlord who is alleging to own, pull the mortgage and the deed. You will find that they are a tenant themselves. So how can a tenant demand rent from a tenant? Now, I will say this: if you are, if you're looking to claim anything, you better have a sister in the mix because she's the heir. She's the one that has the power to claim the ancestral, her rudiments, her stuff. All right. So if you're looking to, because see, you can claim the land. People don't understand the power. The Aboriginal and Indigenous people do not understand your power. Claim the land. Because whatever is on it comes with the land. All right? So now if they really want this, if they really want that building, they can take that up off my land. You want it, you can have it, but first you better tell me where you got the resources from that put that together. All right? Because you can take it, but you're still going to owe me. Because I want compensation for the resources that put that together, nunc pro tunc, but you can take it. Take it. Islam?
When I read the RVBey guidance to the National Bank Act, show you how to own the land, and then it goes into saying something of putting a trust of $50.
On what, RVBey?
Well, it's the National Bank Act.
All right. Well, first of all, let's talk about that word own. See, because that's where they trip people up. You're not an owner. You don't own nothing. She don't own nothing. I don't own nothing. All this is inheritance, baby. This is not owning of nothing. I don't own nothing. This was passed down to me because I'm a lineal descendant. So I don't own nothing, so that doesn't apply to me. But what I want you to tell me, not you per se, but I want you to tell me is exactly what does that apply to on this American soil that's my ancestral estate?
Well, the understanding that I'm having is that I said, all you have to say is my grandmother lived here on this block or whatever avenue, whatever building's on top.
Of what?
Whatever's on that land and that block.
All right.
Because I was told before even my house, and I didn't never even believe it now. No matter how long ago.
That's right, because it's a linear. It's based on.
Right now, when I see
it's about. This is about bloodline. As long as they can get the people to disconnect themselves from the family voluntarily, they can swoop in like the crows that they are, and they can confiscate everything. Look, it's lack of knowledge. That's what this is about, lack of knowledge. And if you think that you're going to get knowledge that can assist you and your family from these institutions they're calling a school or a college, You're never going to get it from there because that's all those institutions teach you is to how to collect a paycheck off the pain and suffering of your family.
Wow.
It's just, I mean, look, I don't care what job you're doing, who is the target market? And your paycheck is based off of that, and there's no empathy in that at all. And that's why many of us, we pass and have a lot of mental challenges because we know somewhere in our psyche, we know that we're warring against our family, but there's nothing we think that we can do because we need that paycheck so we can put bread on the table, keep the lights on and the roof over the head, so we're put in a position where we have no choice but to raise our family so that we can survive.
Oh, my gosh, I just got to say, that is beautifully said. And that's what the prophet also said about that education you're talking about. He said the longer you stay in the higher, you will jump to defend it.
That's right.
But it is true that is the only thing that's being taught there. And it's just amazing.
And you notice
how much we don't know.
It used to be not too long ago. If you went into a bank, you never saw one of us. If you went into a hospital, you never saw one of us. If you went to an attorney, you never saw one of us. If you went into one of these hearing rooms in a building called a court, you never saw one of us. If you was kidnapped and in a prison, you never saw one of us. Never. Now, everywhere you go is us. We are the new, what they call them? Overseers. We are overseeing our own people for a paycheck that's not even giving us lawful money. Just giving us more debt. Just more debt. And see, what's crazy is you can tell people this and they will, are you crazy, girl? Or, well, hey, it's the accepted form of exchange. No, it is not the accepted form of exchange. The only reason it is exchanged and soon to be on this landmass only, all right, is because we asked for it. We put faith in it. It is worse than toilet paper that has already gone through the sewer system. No. Everything that we are participating in is like septic system trash, but they have mentally conditioned us to believe that it is silver and gold. And it's not.
Okay, you know what? You made me think of something because I know the time is running out, and I know we always have a lot of things to say. But when you said that septic system trash, it reminds me of a conference call you and I were just on yesterday, the day before yesterday, and how we were telling these people how they picked up this stuff out of the trash that the Europeans put in the trash, certificate redemption, all that is stuff that Europeans threw away because they can't, sovereigns, they can't be the true Americans. They threw it all in the trash. And I have to say this, and then you can comment on it. And so then we have some of our people going around giving classes, pulling all these people, and one of them, you found it. Said, oh, no, don't put the ill on the end of it. And they had the nerve to be talking about Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who he said, do all new business in your free appellation, and you have your title, RVBey, right? And then they're going and they're having a class right across the hall. I think the guy in class, too, now that I remember that that's who it is. And everybody gets flocked to it. And they were teaching the birth certificate redemption trust thing. It wasn't any. Don't put the ill on the end of your name. What was the reason they said not to?
I don't remember.
But you got to be a proper person at all times. What are you talking about?
But one of the things he did say was, and I know they get a lot of people with this. They say, oh, I need a plug. They say most, when you hear a lot of Moors, they're always talking about how they want to get into international markets. Right? That's like the biggest trap. I want to be an international mover and shaker, right? I want to be, and so they're like, how can I get engaged in commerce? I want to be international, you know. But here's the thing: this is not about you wanting to get involved in commerce. This is about your nationality, and it's about gaining back that nationality. That's what it's about. It's not about, first of all, if you really want to get into international and national activity, you need to do a whole lot of studying, because if you're asking me a question about it, you ain't ready. All right? But, yes, you do. You have to be a national before you can even talk about international, and you have to also recognize that on this landmass, if you're dealing with modern Europeans or anyone other than Asiatic, which can only be modern Europeans, you're already dealing in international waters. International doesn't mean far away. International means what is the relationship between you and someone else. That's what international means. So modern Europeans, although they can be standing right next to you, that's an international proposition. That's an international business. That's an international exchange, because they are of a different family. Remember, there's only two: Asiatic, modern European. If they're not Asiatic, all right, it's international. If they are Asiatic, it's national. It's not about how far away you are on the land. It's about what is the relationship. That's why if any of these modern Europeans violates your constitutionally treaty-secured liberties, that is an international violation. Why? Because they're a different family. That's it. That's all there is, nothing else. So, we got to do a lot more studying, because, see, this whole thing is just a stepping stone to another place. You know, a lot of us, we're in this physical world and we want to get things, but this is not about you getting things. This is about you moving to the next phase where you are manifesting everything you want when you want it, and it is good. That's where you're going to. This is just a little pit stop. So that's what it is. That's all there is. And so the order of the day, yes, is to declare your nationality. Be clear, but you're never going to be clear unless you first study to know. Because man does not know by being told, and even though I'm standing up here telling you, I'm trusting that you're going to download the archive and listen to it and take notes and go and do the appropriate research for whatever sparks your interest in what was said today. Islam? That is the end of that. Oh, well, absolutely, because that's the lowest self. Draw a circle around your passion, square up your conduct.
Doesn't mean that you won't have any material things. That's the scary part. It doesn't mean that at all. It means there's a spot that and we're actually the mind.
Exactly, because everything that we are experiencing right now is a bitter pill, but I'm going to give it to you. You created it because man is mind. Chapter 1, the Holy Quran, man is mind. It's not going to manifest unless it first took place in your mind. So you're creating haphazardly because you don't know how to harness your energy and manifest with knowledge. That takes discipline, because I can tell you right now, I'm not going to do this exercise, but when you go home, I want you to sit down someplace for 5 minutes. Set your alarm for 5 minutes. Everybody got a cell phone. Every cell phone got a stopwatch. Set your stopwatch for 5 minutes, and then think of a red rose. 5 minutes. Now watch how many thoughts come through your mind in 5 minutes that's not the red rose. Now, stay focused on the red rose. See how many other thoughts come through your mind that is not the red rose. That will tell you how much work you have to do on your mind so that you can focus it and create exactly what you want. People are chasing down Federal Reserve notes. The prophet said there will come a day when you see a $20 bill on the ground and you will step over it. People are thinking, I'll be rich by then. No, you will have learned how to manifest with your mind exactly what you want, which you're doing right now. So now if you're creating with your mind, did you ever need a worthless piece of paper? So we need to learn how to control our minds, focus our energy, and create exactly what we want, and stop allowing other people and energies to create what we don't want. Islam?
All right. Now, I got one more thing to ask you about. So some people may be thinking, but I've always had everything I wanted, and but you got to think, as she's saying, how was that manifest? Because that's why some people lose. They have it today as gone tomorrow type thing. Because the reason and the intent behind receiving it, was all wrong. And so therefore you can't really manifest to the next level of that, because like if you think that it's all about the so-called money, well then that's going to engulf you. You might have all these things, but you're also going to be destroyed by that. It's going to destroy you, and then you'll find that's why people, money is always the problem. Isn't money always the problem? Fake-ass money is always the problem. It's a distraction. Am I right?
Yes. It's a huge
So someone asks you for money, don't ask. Don't extend. They need it. Don't even think to get it back, because you can only spend it one time. But isn't it a distraction? Tell them about it.
It's a huge distraction. That's why in my lifetime, I have read so many different philosophies, and one of them was Buddha. How many people have read Buddha? He gave up everything, and when I was reading it, I was like, why would you give up everything? I mean, couldn't you hold on to something? Why would you give up everything? What was the point of that? He had to give up everything. You know why? Because that's how you gain control of yourself. Because all of those things are pulling you in all kind of directions, so he had to cut it off and then gain control of yourself. And we tell you that all the time. Go and study. Study, study, study. Turn off the TV. Turn off the radio. Cut off the music. Disconnect for some of them family and so-called friends, and stay by yourself, because you got so much inside of you that you need to clean out. And in the Bible, it talks about you can't put new wine in old skin. Well, are you old skin?
Wow. Oh, man, you're in.
Yes.
Am I on now? Am I on? Okay. It's not about me personally, because I have given personally all that I have to give. I hope it was good enough, because that's all I can do. However, not to be given for people to have free judgment on me or any of us personally. You missed the mark. You really missed the mark, and the boat has left the dock. That's it, and that's all. We said that when we started, that the boat has already left the dock. The logo says the boat has left the dock. It was all of your duty and mine and ours to catch up. Swim if you have to. Whatever you got to do, because the boat has already left the dock. Now, science tells me that if I don't make the move, I will not receive what for us who have collectively done what we could do for a decade, meaning we have reached the ninth. One is one, uno, and then two, and then three is the Trinity, four is the square where you're challenged. This is your life, my life, and everyone. Five is where the harmony comes in. I'm talking about whatever it is that you're doing, and this repeats itself. Six is when the chaos comes again, because out of chaos comes order. So I can go back, and I'm sure on the 6th year I can tell you all the chaos that went down. 7 is order again, because out of chaos comes order. 8 is infinity, and 9 is completion. But if you don't reach infinity, you can't reach completion, because there is no beginning and there is no end. It's just cycle. So what is 10? Next level. We all have to give up something in order to receive what is next to come that is done by the universe. It's not, if we say we're never coming back here again because we don't want to come here. Now, the whole reason why we're only here 2 weeks was confused. But see, divine law governs all events, and we know that. And I had to learn that and not take things personally or anything like that. But when there were some bigger meetings that were going to be going on here by another group, and then we kind of got pushed out and said, okay, you can only come 2 weeks. We was okay with that, but we set it up to only be here 2 weeks, and then after that, these other weeks became available. And we were like, shoot, 2 weeks is good, because all work is increasing. The prophet said there's enough work for everyone. Now, let me just give you an example. When I told you earlier, when I first started publishing, I said, Dad, all of these temples is going to give me the work to, because I was publishing before I got this information, right? But now, if that didn't happen, as an example, I'm not saying that anything's wrong that it didn't. Man, we could have, any business that we do, we could have afforded to employ people. Well, not employ people to do work, because we could never have employees because we're not that. We could have given compensation to other people because the work has gotten so large because we're supporting each other. I'm just saying that's how it goes. Take that with you wherever you go. But like I said, the universe does what it does. So now 10 means next level. If we don't make this move, because we're not ending any of the classes. Oh, no. Oh, no. We're just moving them somewhere else. Do you understand? And those who listen broadcast will always, because we now broadcast these classes, and we started doing that, it's been less than a year. Free. We're doing more things for free than anything that we do. When we come here, we're helping the people here in New York pay some things. Do you understand? We don't feel we've lost anything. We trust and hope you gain. We know that next level. We also know there's people waiting for us to move out of this spot so they can move in. But they can do whatever they want to do.
When I listen to Audible, I'm not riding the L train during rush hour. I'm hunting whales with the crew of the Pequod. I can feel the cold air in my face and the icy spray of the Atlantic crashing against the bow. The smell of